Welcome everyone to the Campus Pride Spotlight series. My name is Ayla Azim and I'm a college student and fall intern with Campus Pride, and my pronouns are she and her. For those who don't know, Campus Pride is a leading national nonprofit organization that empowers students and student leaders and groups working to create equitable and safe LGBTQ+ college environments for students. And you can learn more at campuspride.org. Today, I will be interviewing Northern Kentucky University for the Campus Pride Spotlight series. This series is all about what campuses offer today's LGBTQ+ students, our diverse gender and sexuality spectrum. We will highlight colleges and universities that are providing LGBTQ+ inclusivity on their campuses and learn more about their programs and services. I want to introduce you to the representatives from Northern Kentucky University now. So thank you so much for meeting today with Campus Pride for the Spotlight series. So please introduce yourselves, and will each of you please share your name, your role on campus, and your pronouns.
Thank you. My name is Dr. Meyer. I am the founding director of the Office of LGBTQ Programs and Services at Northern Kentucky University, and I use she, her pronouns. I'm joined today by Isabel and Jarett.
Hi everyone, my name is Isabel Sleczkowski. I am the co-lead ambassador at the Office of LGBTQ Programs and Services. I'm also the founder of Lavender Society, and I preside over it still, and I am a senior at NKU.
Hi, my name is Jarett Lopez. I'm a 2020 alumnus of NKU, where I served 2 years as lead ambassador for the Office of LGBTQ Programs and Services and the student body president.
Thank you all so much for your introductions. So congratulations, and it's wonderful to have you all here today. So your campus has a 5 out of 5 stars review on the Campus Pride Index at campusprideindex.org, and you have been rated among the best in terms of LGBTQ+ friendly colleges and universities. So congratulations. So to start out, tell us what are some things that are on your campus for LGBTQ+ life, and specifically, how does your campus do, what does your campus do exactly for LGBTQ+ students that creates a safe and inclusive space?
I think I would like to start, if I could, by just introducing our campus community and the makeup of our institution, and then I'll toss it over to Jarett and then Isabel to speak a bit about some of the programs and services that we have on campus. So to begin, we're located in Northern Kentucky University. We're less than 5 miles from downtown Cincinnati. We are a predominantly white institution. We're a metropolitan institution, mostly first generation commuter campus in the Southeast. So at NKU, our office is staffed by 1 full-time staff person, and that's been the case since we began our work on campus back in 2013 with the founding of the Office of LGBTQ Programs and Services. And what's unique about NKU, I believe, is that it's truly been a collaborative effort on our campus. We know that no institution can achieve excellence regarding LGBTQA inclusion with an LGBTQ center or staff alone. On our campus, it's truly been an effort to build relationships and communities across campus, and we've been able to achieve this welcoming and inclusive campus community because departments and organizations and individuals have jumped on board as allies and as truly as accomplices in this work, integrating LGBTQ equity initiatives into their own work through things like adding the questions to the admissions application, to gender neutral housing and gender neutral restroom options, and numerous student organizations. So we have a lot going on, but I do think that one of the things that sets NKU apart is that it's part of the fabric of our institution. It's not work that comes out of my office alone. It's truly something that you'll see and you'll feel as you walk across campus. And I'll defer now to Jarett and then to Isabel to provide a bit of information about their experiences and student life.
Yeah, what sets NKU apart is that LGBTQ students are ingrained in all aspects of campus life. We are leaders in every type of organization. we have a seat at the table when it comes to crafting policies. As student body president, I sat on the board of regents as an openly gay man, where I got to push the issues that matter to the community, that matter to all students. And that's been consistent at NKU. And that's why we have the 5 out of 5 stars. To be a truly best campus for LGBTQ students, you have to have LGBTQ students who are not only comfortable being present on campus, but comfortable leading. And so I'll toss it over to Isabel.
Yeah, like what Jarett was saying, one of the things that sets us apart is that I don't feel like the LGBT community really has to isolate themselves. We are found everywhere across campus in every major. I don't have to worry about only being friends with other LGBT students because I know that all of the faculty and almost all the other students are going to accept me. I don't have to hesitate before I talk about my girlfriend, for example, which is a pretty big deal to anyone who is LGBT who's watching this. And the other thing that I really love is that within the community, we make sure that there are spaces for the different kinds of people within the LGBT community. It's a really large umbrella, and I love so much how much we can all come together, but we also understand that sometimes there's a need for specific spaces. For example, the organization that I founded and preside over is called Lavender Society. It is an organization it's a sapphic alliance for women and non-binary people who feel comfortable using the term sapphic. And there are some times when you need to talk about issues that really only apply to sapphic people, and you want that space where you can be with just other sapphic people. But then we also know that there's a greater community, and then beyond the community of LGBT, there's the entire campus community. And I think that's what really sets NKU apart, is having all these concentric circles.
Yeah, I really loved what you had to say, Isabel. I really liked that. So what example can you specifically maybe share that signifies the importance of having a safe space on your campus for LGBTQ plus students?
I can go first on this one. So I came to NKU in 2017. This was less than a year after the current administration had come into office. Things were a little bit more scary for me going into college, knowing that things were a little bit different than they had been when I started applying to college. And I didn't really know what to expect when I went to NKU. So as I was getting settled and stuff, there were LGBT orgs. I was able to reach out to Bonnie, and that was a big deal. But the moment that really sticks out to me is that one day, it was, I believe, October, I was walking to class, and in the middle of the student plaza, and this is right in the middle of campus, there are pride flags all around the entire sidewalk, as if they just appeared overnight. And there were rainbow flags, but there were also trans flags and bi flags. I don't think we had the pan flag yet, but the fact that there were pride flags so prominently displayed was a huge deal to me. And the fact that it wasn't just the rainbow flag, but that we've specifically included the bi and the trans flag, that was so huge to me. And it really made me feel like not only was I accepted, but I was welcomed with open arms, and that I wasn't expected to hide myself, but I could be exactly who I was from the very beginning.
Beautiful. Really love that.
And for me, I started my college search my sophomore year of high school, and I received a postcard from NKU. And 15 years old from a very rural community, I joke that it has more cows than people. And I asked my mom, I was like, let's go to NKU, let's go visit it. And I really could sense the community when I walked onto campus. Our LGBTQ organization, Common Ground, was tabling for our annual drag show, and I could see the rainbow flag in Bonnie's office. And it was so important to me to see the visible campus community and to experience that feeling of, I will be welcome on this campus before I ever step foot on it. And that's one of my favorite stories to tell, because as a prospective student, you're looking for somewhere that you can belong. And for me, NKU, the moment I stepped foot in the student union, I knew that I would belong there. And so it's important to be visible like that.
I would also just add that as the unique perspective I have as the founding director in this role is that it's as I said, an entire campus effort. And so when you walk into a place like NKU, we'd certainly had a lot of LGBTQ activism and organizing happening on our campus prior to 2013. We had a student organization that was active in the late 90s. They were marching in Washington in 2000. We've had an affinity group on campus, SAFE, staff, faculty, and administrators for equity, since the mid-2000s, who worked on things like domestic partner benefits. I've been supported in this role since day one. Since I walked on campus, I've been supported by the Board of Regents, I've been supported by the president, by my vice president of student affairs, by chief diversity officers, and by the faculty and the staff across campus. And so I think that we've really been able to take risks. We're a young institution, and we've been supported in taking those risks and in truly spreading our visibility across campus through programming and education and even additional student leadership opportunities.
Really nice answers. Hopefully every college campus one day could be like yours. I mean, seriously. So can you please maybe tell more about, like your campus's LGBTQ plus inclusive policies, and how do students LGBTQ plus and not LGBTQ plus feel about the policies?
I'll speak just for a second about policies, and I know Jarett will have some additional insight to add here, serving on student government. We have had a lot of support from our Student Government Association. Our office, our LGBTQ Programs and Services office, was founded after our Student Government Association passed a resolution asking for the support to happen on campus. So I know that he has a lot of experience with that. I want to thank Campus Pride. I think that there aren't a lot of resources when you're founding an office and you're building it from the ground up. And the Campus Pride Index has been such an incredible resource for us to use as we looked at where we were in 2013 and assessed our need. And then we continued to work through the Campus Pride Index, looking at things like policies and institutional change and commitment and what that means. And so over the years, and I will say, when I started in 2013, at that point, we didn't have gender identity and gender expression included in our non-discrimination policy. These were things that we started, sort of working on systematically and with partners across campus. So over the years, we've made a lot of changes to our policies, particularly around the support that we offer for trans students. Immediately, we included gender expression and gender identity as part of our non-discrimination policy. We have implemented a name change procedure for our students and are continuing to improve that name change procedure. We see in housing now, we have additional new software that will allow our students to identify sexual orientation and gender identity in housing. We have increased the number of gender inclusive restrooms across campus. We have, I think, truly embedded in so many ways LGBTQ just awareness. When students come to campus as part of their registration days, even prior to their orientation, their 3-day orientation, they meet with orientation leaders, and orientation leaders are even in the habit of asking pronouns of every student that's new to NKU. It's just part of who we are, is that we include our pronouns. We have trans inclusive healthcare benefits for our faculty and for our staff and for administration. And we've just really used the Campus Pride Index as a tool to think about all of the ways that we might be lacking support and to continue to use that assessment to improve. And even now with this 5-star rating, and I'm sure we'll talk about this further, is the improvements that we need to continue to work on, and the what we see for the future and how to continue this work. So Jarett, would you like to talk a bit about your experience?
Yeah, definitely. So I joined the Student Government Association in 2017 as a senator, and it was important for me as an openly gay campus leader to make sure that we were pushing the issues that matter to the community and the organization. One of the first resolutions I passed as a senator was a resolution recognizing the Office of LGBTQ Programs and Services for the work that it's done on its 5th anniversary. I continued that work. I passed a resolution 2 years ago to begin the process of creating an LGBTQ studies minor, because one of the things that is important to me is being able to see the LGBTQ community in curriculum. And it's important that students see themselves in the coursework they're doing, because K-12 education does not properly address LGBTQ issues. And beyond that, as president last year, I had senators investigating potential ways to get a gender-inclusive bathroom in our student union so that students don't have to walk to other buildings during lunch or during passing time to be able to use the bathroom. And and what really stood out to me, having the ear of the administration, is just how receptive they've been to the ideas of the student body. Last year, as student body president, I sat down with the chair of our history and geography department, where the women and gender studies minor is housed, to talk about finally founding this program of study. And so I'm sure that work is continuing this year, even with virtual operations. And so the Student Government Association was a vital tool in getting those things done.
Isabel, would you like to speak a bit about the experiences?
Sure. In terms of policy, like Bonnie said, they had already started a lot of it when I came in. And there are little things that I think as a student, until I was actively involved, I didn't even realize how unusual it was to be able to go to Bonnie and get a name change with relatively little hassle, right, compared to anywhere else you're going, or to be able to ensure that the roommate I had when I was in dorms was accepting and a safe place, so that way whenever I was living somewhere I didn't feel unsafe. And for me, watching Jarett, and for a time before Jarett and I became co-lead ambassadors, he was more of a mentor to me, someone that I just saw as an active member of the community and was like, wow, I hope I get to do that one day. But watching Jarett in this role and watching the SGA pass resolutions, that was a big deal to me, because I think there is kind of an idea that SGAs don't really do that much. But I would strongly disagree about that, especially when we're looking at it in terms of marginalized groups and SGAs really arguing and fighting for us, especially as we're doing the work to get more faculty who identify as LGBT. But until we get to a place that really feels like there's, I don't want to say enough of those, because I don't know that there's ever enough LGBT people anywhere, but while they're fighting behind the scenes, there's also the students who are always pushing. And the faculty that I've talked to, and especially with the help of Dr. Meyer, have really been so helpful in getting these policies passed. And I have honestly never witnessed any pushback, and I think that's huge.
Wow. I'm very impressed. Jarett and Isabel, I mean, what you said about having an LGBTQ plus studies minor and LGBTQ plus representation, and it shouldn't be put to like a limit. I really like those pieces, and that was a really nice thing. So in all of your opinions, what does your campus feel the need to improve or provide safe spaces and resources for LGBTQ plus students?
There's always room to improve. Certainly there's always room to improve. And we are, like I said earlier, we're a predominantly white institution. My office is located within the Center for Student Inclusiveness that also houses African American student initiatives, Latino programs and services, and the Office for Student Accessibility. And because of the placement within the center, there's a multitude of opportunity to collaborate with our partners across the center. We know that with these times and reduced resources, and my colleagues who are also staffing offices of one, it can be tricky to not spread yourself super thin, and it's impossible for myself as the director of the office to be everything for every LGBTQ student on campus. I am a white cisgender queer woman who, I have a lot of privilege. And so I think that as we look at this work moving forward, particularly on our institution, we need to think about not only how we expand the scope of these services. So, for example, and I've talked extensively about this on campus, moving toward less of an office and more toward a center model where we're able to support people across gender and sexuality. The Office of LGBTQ Programs and Services in title alone is not inclusive. We're missing the P, we're missing the A. It's time for a name change, and it's time for, I think, a new direction of the office. Our focus at the moment is beyond our flex housing option, which is our inclusive housing option within university housing, is developing an LLC for LGBTQ students. And so we're hard at work on that at the moment. We're hard at work on redreaming this next phase of the office and what that will look like and how we can support people across campus, including through curriculum development and faculty. We must increase our curricular offerings for LGBTQ students on campus. A lot of that was started with the work that Jarett did as student government president, continuing to develop courses. We have a study abroad course that, and I have a photo for that I shared, that is the LGBTQ experiences, European experiences of exile, resistance, and inclusion. And that was the first time that we had an LGBTQ study abroad program. This photo that is on the screen at the moment is when we were in Brussels. So we spend about 4 days in Amsterdam, about 4 or 5 days in Brussels, and then we go to Paris for about a week, and we meet with just government officials and culture and arts and activists. And this was when we visited the European Parliament. So we are looking forward to bringing that study abroad course back in, well, I guess it'll be 2022 at this point. We were supposed to travel in May of 2021 again, but just those sorts of collaborations have been really important on our campus with the academic side, even with campus police. We were the first institution in Kentucky to train all of our police officers and our dispatchers, but we, I think, are truly moving more toward a model where this work would be embedded in all areas across campus in order to make it a bit less, I think, siloed. I think we're doing great work. I'm really proud of our institution. I'm proud of our partners across campus who have made really big changes, but understand particularly around supporting our most marginalized communities within the LGBTQ community. We need additional resources. We need more creativity, and we're looking forward to getting back to campus and making some of these things happen. If Jarett or Isabel have anything to add, they're welcome to.
Okay, that actually leads perfectly into the next question that I was going to ask. So how's your campus supporting LGBTQ plus students across their intersections of identity? So how do you recognize those intersections of identity, and what steps is your campus doing in order to provide accurately for the intersections of identity of individuals?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I'll talk about for a second, and then I'll defer to the students, Isabel and Jarett, to talk a bit more about their experiences, is we are a predominantly white institution, and our office is staffed by myself, a white cisgender queer woman. So these partnerships across campus have been very important in supporting our most marginalized populations through our international affairs office and really close relationships and partnerships with our Latino programs and services and our African American student initiatives offices. Those two directors are probably my closest confidants and support systems in this work. And that's really important. So first of all, that the visibility of those relationships in that intersection, when our students see that the director of Latino programs and services, the director of LGBTQ programs and services, the director of African American student initiatives are close, that we care about each other's work, that we support each other's students, was one of the first steps for our institution as we got started on this work. The other thing that I have done very intentionally through the office over the last, 7.5 years or so is very intentionally used programming to drive policy changes and to create visibility and awareness and representation where it seemingly didn't exist. This is why we have in the past really sought after big national speakers. I think sometimes programming isn't given all of the credit for some of the changes that it can truly make on campus. And so some of those big speakers, for example, when I started, I mentioned that we didn't have gender expression and gender identity as part of our non-discrimination policy. And I knew several Black and brown trans folks on campus. So they weren't out and open at that point in 2013. And we certainly couldn't ask our most marginalized students to be out and to be the visible representation of that community until we created a space where we were able to start working toward that that inclusion and that acceptance, and that I'd say that sort of like thriving environment. We want our students to be out and to be who they are on campus. And so when you're able to bring in speakers who are able to pull in a whole lot of people to hear a message, then it certainly can begin to shift the conversations on campus. And so when we bring in people like Laverne Cox or Patrice Cullors, or even Karamo Brown a couple years ago, Michael Sam, here we have a photo of Rafi Friedman-Gerspan, who was the first LGBTQ liaison to the White House. And she spoke with us last year about the intersections of identity and orientation and oppression, is truly how we've sort of gotten that conversation started. Some of our programming, I think one of my favorite programs that we have on campus is, here you see on the right is our pop-up drag show. And that's one of my favorite events on campus. We use that to kick off LGBTQ History Month. It's a drag show that seemingly pops up with no warning on October 1st every year. And that's done, again, very intentionally, because by the time we get to October 1st, we want our new LGBTQ students, even if they're questioning or if they haven't found our office yet, to find our office. And so things like the pop-up drag show will provide a ton of visibility, and that LGBTQ students who may not have been connected with their office yet are able to connect with us. They see us. And also it's important for students and faculty and staff who may have no intentions at all of interacting or seeking out opportunities to engage with the LGBTQ community. When you're walking through campus in the middle of the day and there's a drag show happening, then you're going to have to interact with LGBT culture. So we've used our programming a lot to provide that visibility, and then from there, partnering to provide additional resources and support and collaboration with those other departments. So I think that one of the things about this LGBTQ work in higher ed, or possibly across schools in general, is that we tend to talk about LGBTQ students as if we're all the same, and we are not. We are in every single population and on campus, and we see that with our students as well. And so ideally, as we continue this work in the future, it will be a lot about supporting students where they are within African American student initiatives and within Latino programs and services and within our international affairs office as well. So making sure that the support goes to the students, and so that we're not asking the students to always come directly to us. So I'll defer to, again, Isabel and Jarett to speak a bit more about their experiences on campus around this issue.
Sure. So like Bonnie says, I am similarly a cisgender white lesbian, and with that comes a lot of privilege, especially as a leader on campus. And I think while Jarett and Bonnie really do a lot in terms of policy and programming work, I focus a lot on building the community and working with students as much as possible, hence Lavender Society, as I mentioned earlier. And as someone who is working on leading orgs and getting orgs to be a space that is not just for white cisgender students, a big part of that is making sure that you don't tolerate any transphobia or any racism within your organizations. I don't think it's enough to just say, we welcome all kinds of LGBT students, but you have to really show that not only do you welcome them, but that they will be treated with respect and that they are just as much a part of the community as their white cisgender counterparts. One of the things that I like to do, because the way that our university is primarily white, so are a lot of the orgs, it's reflected there. So I take a lot of my educational meetings and we do intersectional work. We talk about what intersectionalism means. A lot of freshmen come in not even knowing what that word means. And we do programs where we talk about and we recognize our privilege, and we recognize that just because you're in the LGBT community doesn't mean that you understand oppression in all areas. And further, we talk about LGBTQ history, and we make a point to include so many of the leaders of color who really paved the way for where we are now. Like Stonewall was absolutely led by trans women of color. And I make a point to talk about that and get our students talking about who has really led the community and what the community is made of still today.
And when it comes to supporting students and just seeking out support, in my 4 years at NKU, I obviously relied heavily on Bonnie to be that source of support for me, but I also relied heavily on other administrators at NKU, the advisors in UCAP, which is our University Connect and Persist office, where I could lean on the people in there to help me with my academics. And I could go into the Dean of Students office and sit with him and just vent to the assistant vice president for student affairs and just talk about the things that were going on campus and be heard. And I think that's what sets NKU apart as well, is that there's a campus effort to support all students, to support LGBTQ students, to support Black students, to support Latino students, to do that work, to create an environment where students can succeed, and which I think is important, and I hope will continue.
Really nice. So you all have spoken really extensively about students who have have intersections of identity, and how they experience higher rates of marginalization and problems. So in unfortunate circumstances where that would occur, how would it get remedied?
We have a bias response protocol in place that I serve on that committee. I've served on that committee since it started, I think in 2014. So in advisory capacity as well. And again, I would say that what I've appreciated the most about our administration, especially the current administration, is that there is swift response to incidences of bias and discrimination, especially in ways that I haven't even seen in the past. I think that the support is there, certainly from our president and from our cabinet, to squash incidences of bias and discrimination, not only when we're talking about LGBTQ students, but across the board. And if usually what happens is that students will come to the office, and so it is rare that the first thing that happens is that there's an incident that's so extraordinary that they run directly through conduct or through the bias response team. Usually what happens is a student will reach out to me through an ambassador or through a student leader on campus. I know both Jarett and Isabel have contacted me on numerous occasions in the past with just anything from just small little issues to larger issues that need to be resolved. And then I work directly with the students in order to resolve those issues, depending on what the issue may be. But also stay in pretty constant communication with our Chief Diversity Officer. Our Dean of Students is a huge supporter. Our Conduct Office are big supporters, and just across the board through our institution, we have a lot of allies and advocates in this work who will not stand for bias and discrimination. We look at all of these as learning opportunities. So we do try to work with students and help them grow and expand their experiences while on our campus.
Okay, so I'll move on to the next question. So social justice and equity is a constantly growing movement, and it's constantly progressing. So what's on the agenda for your campus to improve in the next 2 to 3 years?
I'll just speak a couple of the initiatives, and I mentioned them before. The big ones are, we had a mentor program on campus. We are really growing this mentor program. It's called the Pride Mentor Program, and we will pair LGBTQ students, current LGBTQ students, with alumni, faculty and staff and administrators in a mentorship capacity. So that is something that we're really excited about. It's a close partnership with our alumni and with SAFE, which is our employee resource group on campus. We are in the midst of a proposal to not only change the name, but to expand the office, and thinking about what the work would look like as a center rather than an office, hopefully in the future. And then just better resources in order to, I think, embed this work across campus in more creative ways and ways that we have not yet been able to reach.
Right now, I serve on the College of Arts and Sciences Committee for Inclusive Excellence. I'm the only student on this committee at the moment, but what I'm watching between that committee and we just hired a new diversity officer relatively recently, and there's a lot of commitment to continuing to progress. I've been in a lot of meetings recently where they're like, I want you to focus on everything that we can do to get better. And they ask us specifically to talk about our experiences, our negative experiences on campus, whether it's with faculty or with other students. And they ask about microaggressions. And when I'm in the meetings with administration, they're actively listening to me and listening to other students, not just LGBT students, but students in all of the underrepresented minority groups. And then when I'm on this committee, I'm listening to the administration within my college propose active things that they can do immediately. So for me as a student, I'm watching not only Bonnie make a proposal for something that will hopefully happen within the next few years, but I'm also seeing active progress happening every day and every month. And I think it's really nice that we have long-term goals, but we're also seeing short-term goals be set and accomplished while students are here. So I don't just have to think about the students who will come after me, but I get to benefit from this before I graduate in May too.
And obviously, I'm a member of our alumni now, so I don't get to directly be a part of finishing the work. But I really am looking forward to supporting these efforts, especially helping found and lead an LGBTQ alumni association once that gets off the ground, just to offer that mentorship and support to students to help them grow in the community and be scholars and get their degrees, because that's so important. Just mentorship from alumni is something that I look forward to being a part of in the future.
And I would add that Jarett started a lot of this work that is continuing, and part of that is the increased curricular offerings around LGBTQ, whether that's a major someday, whether we can add a bachelor's degree, but regardless, just adding those additional offerings and partnering with the academic units across campus so that we're offering courses where our LGBTQ students can see themselves reflected, regardless of their race, ethnicity, religious background, et cetera. So that's a big focus as well.
You all have done such a marvelous job today. So to end our spotlight in 3 words, how would you describe your campus?
I'll start and then I'll go to Jarett and to Isabel. And I would say to prospective students that what you will find at NKU is a welcoming, inclusive environment. Put those together as 2, and that you will find home. I think that NKU is a home for all of us, but including our LGBTQ student population, you'll find a home at NKU.
I would like to say that Bonnie cheated by saying 4 words, but I think that NKU is place of growth. That's 3. I win.
And I describe NKU with the words on the rise, because we are.
That was really nice. So again, thank you all so much for joining me here today and for your continued work to create a safe space for LGBTQ plus students to live, learn, and thrive on the Northern Kentucky University campus. Your work makes a positive difference on so many lives, and thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
So thank you for watching the Campus Pride Spotlight series. If you wish to learn more about this campus or any other college or university, you can search for free on the Campus Pride Index online at campusprideindex.org. That's campusprideindex.org. For over 400 plus colleges and universities who have come together or who have come out to be LGBTQ plus friendly. So again, my name is Ayla, and thank you so much for watching.